In my last video, I promised you that I would show you everything that I keep in my camera bag. So today, I'm going to be running you through everything that's in there, a few extras as well, and I feel like over the last couple of years, I've really dialed in my gear to the point where I now have so much confidence to capture all these amazing shots, and I'm going to show you exactly how with the gear I use. So, let's get into it. So let's start with something exciting, and to start with we're going to talk about tripods. And this was my main tripod until a few years ago when I was shooting full frame. So this is the three-legged thing Winston. You can see it doesn't have a head on there, but what it has got is these stilettos. So this is a really cool thing that three-legged thing makes, but basically what they are feet that when you take off the plastic bit at the bottom, they're spikes as well, so you can spike them into the ground if you're in really windy conditions. Maybe you're doing astrophotography somewhere quite exposed. You can really poke these into the ground and make sure that you're staying nice and stable. So this is a really good tripod. Unfortunately, I'm not really using it that much anymore because it's just a bit overkill for most of the shots that I'm taking. And because of the camera gear that I'm using is so much lighter, I don't actually need to carry around a heavy tripod with me for the most part. So this is what I'm actually using. So this is the head from this tripod. So it's the more heavy duty head, which is a fantastic tripod head. I can't remember what it's called. I think it has a name, but I'll pop a link to all of the items that I'm talking about today in the description below. The tripod though is the three-legged thing Punks Brian. So this is an absolutely perfect tripod for me. So it really strikes the best balance between weight and the height that it can get up to, and it also is pretty cost effective as well. So it's something that isn't the cheapest in the world, but it also isn't the most expensive brand in the world, Three-Legged Things. And Three-Legged Thing, I actually really highly rate them. It's a British company. The tripods are really good quality. The one downside to the Three-Legged Thing products is the feet tend to come off sometimes. So you can see here, I've actually had to tape around the feet to make sure that they are not coming off all the time. So that's a little bit of a downside, but for the most part, I love their products. Next up, this is my newest tripod, and rather than going for another Three-Legged Thing one, I went for a K&F concept. Again, I can't remember what the name is. I don't think it says it on here, but it's much smaller and more lightweight than this one. So it gets up to nearly as high, doesn't get quite as tall. So this blue tripod head is the head from this one, how you buy it. And then this head is from the Winston. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but basically these are the ones that I'm using mainly these days. But this is a really good budget tripod. I made a couple of videos back where I talk about a few budget items, and this was on that list. So if you're interested in finding a little bit more about it, you can check that out. I'll pop it up here. So the bag, I made a full review of this bag in my last video. Again, I'll pop it up here if you're interested. But this is the Wondred Provoke 30. So this is a 30-litre backpack. Before this, I was used to using 50 litres, which was just too big of a backpack really. So this is a much nicer size. It still is quite chunky. You can sort of tell it's a camera bag, but yeah, really and truly, I can kind of say go into a city, I can go into London for the day with this, and it's not too big. You know, it doesn't really scream out camera bag, whereas the 50-litre ones, you look like you're going on either a mega hike or you're shooting like a video documentary or something like that. So yeah, the Wondred Provoke is a fantastic bag. On the outside of the bag, I have got a Three-Legged Thing tools. That's a really nice handy tool to have. It just clips on like a carabiner. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I've got one of the Leaves of Lorien there. I have got this pouch on the outside, which sometimes I have on there. I don't always have it on though. This is from an old Lowepro bag, but it's just handy to have. It's sort of the perfect size for a phone, so I just usually have that carabinered onto the shoulder strap, and then when I'm hiking around and stuff, I know I've got a good place to put my phone there that isn't in my pocket. I've also got on the other side a Peak Design camera clip, so I love having my camera just right there on my shoulder. When I'm hiking around, I know I can literally just take it off, shoot what I need to shoot, and then put it back again. So that's something that's highly recommended, and you see more and more people using these days over a camera strap that weighs you down. Peak Design clip. So also on the outside of the bag, if I go into this pocket here, I usually keep my sit mat. So it's just a foam pad, folding foam pad, and I keep it in this white bag here. So if I've sat in like muddy stuff, then I'm not getting all the mud inside my bag. It stays in this carrier bag. It's also got a rain cover in there for the bag, so if it starts to chuck it down, this is fairly water resistant, but it's not waterproof, so the rain cover just makes sure that I've got a little bit more protection there. I've also got a very small, thin, lightweight rain jacket. So this is made by Decathlon, Quercher. So Quercher, and it's, can't remember the name, but again, I'll pop it down below. Yeah, it's a really good, cheap, lightweight rain jacket that is really handy to just be able to stuff in here. And the other thing I keep in here is a little bit of paper, because you never know when nature's going to call when you're out in the woods. In the top pocket of the bag, I also keep a few things that I really like having nice and handy. So I've got a lighter in there. I don't smoke, but it's just useful to have a lighter to hand, I feel like. It's a titanium long-handled spork, which is really helpful to just, you know, eat a meal or something like that. I've got my head torch, which is a Nitecore NU25. I don't keep this in my hiking bag, but in my camera bag I've usually got it. So it's a small folding knife. So I find this really useful if I'm like maybe cutting a bit of cheese, if I'm out for lunch or something like that, or just to kind of move things within a frame. So if I'm shooting macro or something really quite delicate, then I might just maybe like move a leaf out of the way. So yeah, I like having that in there. What else have I got? Oh, some smints. Yeah, so those are the few kind of like easy access things that I keep in here. So let's get into the main compartment of the camera now, the really interesting stuff. So in the kind of back piece of the bag, I have got some filters. So these filters are all 82mm filter size. So yeah, what have I got in here? I've got polarizer, variable ND, a red filter, which is a really useful one for shooting astrophotography, and I've also got the step-up rings to change between different lenses. I also just keep a few business cards in there as well. If I speak to anyone while I'm out doing photography, I can just hand them a business card and they can check me out on YouTube, social media, wherever they want to. So, my main camera is the Sony a6700. I absolutely love this camera. I've made a full review on it, which I'll pop up here if you're interested in checking it out. And on the camera body, I have got the Tamron 18 to 300mm lens, which is my absolute workhorse. Again, I've made a full review of it, which you can check out up here. But yeah, this setup is what I shoot with for probably about 80-90% of the photos that I take will have been shot with this camera, this lens these days. So because of that really versatile zoom range, it means that I really rarely have to change lenses unless I'm shooting something wide. So I'll get onto my wide angle lens in a minute as well. On the camera, I've got a camera cage. This is made by SmallRig, and this is pretty much the best option in terms of like being able to still use this flippy screen, because a lot of L brackets, which I was used to shooting with before this camera, they don't allow you to make full use of the tilty touchscreen. There's always going to be a compromise where the tilty screen ends up hitting the L bracket. So yeah, this is the best option really that's on the market at the moment. So yeah, that's how I have it. And on the front of the lens, I have got these filters, which they seem like a gimmick, but they're actually really, really good. They are K&F Concept Nano X Series, and they are a variable ND and polarizer all in one, which is something that I really highly recommend. It means that, again, I very rarely have to take this off. So most of the shots that you see that I take with this camera, this lens, they'll be taken with this polarizer on, unless for some reason I don't want the photo to be polarized. You know, for example, if I maybe want to show reflections rather than cutting through them, then I'll take the polarizer off. But for the most part, that polarizer is going to be on there. What's next? Here we have got some more filters. So these ones, these aren't always in here. These are actually an older set of filters, but yeah, again, it's polarizer, variable ND, and some step-up rings. But really, that is mainly for use with this lens, which is a new purchase for me. So this is the Sigma 30mm f1.4. So this lens is really, really lovely. The background blur's beautiful. So when I'm shooting some video, it looks really, really lovely with this lens. So these are in there specifically to make use of this lens. So if I need it polarized or I need to drop down the exposure, then I've got the variable neutral density filter there. So macro extension tubes, again, I've made a really detailed video on my technique of using these, but yeah, these are something that are so useful. You can see they don't weigh much and they don't have much size to them either, so I love just having them in there, especially in the autumn when I'm shooting fungi. Then they're a really good thing to have in your bag. A blower. So this is the one piece of gear that I have had since I started photography. So this has lasted me so well. It's made by a brand called Photar. I bought it as part of a set, and yeah, anytime I've got like dust or anything on my sensor, I'm going to be blowing it off with this blower. So yeah, it's something that is a real relic within my camera bag because it's the one thing that has just kept with me all that time. But yeah, it still works absolutely fine. You know, anytime I need to blow something, I'll use this. Don't make any dirty comments, people. So, after that, yeah, moving swiftly on, we have got my wide angle lens. So this is the Sony 11mm 1.8. So this is a really nice balance between size. I mean, look how small it is. It's so lovely and small. It's got lovely image quality as well. You know, all of the photos that I've taken with this, I've been pleasantly surprised at how stunningly beautiful they are. And also it's got quite a bright aperture as well. So not f1.4, but 1.8 is still pretty fast. That means I can use this lens for astrophotography. That's the main reason I bought it. So even though it is a fixed focal length, it's still really good and versatile for a lot of the vlogging style shots that I'm doing, any of the wide angle landscape shots that I'm doing, and any astrophotography shots will be usually shot with this lens. Moving on, my drone. So this is a little bit outdated now, I suppose. So yeah, maybe this would be my next upgrade, I guess, a new drone, depending on what they release next. But I've used many DJI drones throughout the years, and this has been the best for me. So it's so small and lightweight. That's exactly why I love it. It means I don't have to choose between taking like a telephoto lens and a drone. I can actually have both in my bag at all times. So I absolutely love that. So this is the DJI Mini 3 Pro. So I think this came out 2022. So yeah, it's a few years old now, but really and truly, so far they haven't released anything that I'm looking to upgrade. I don't know why more people don't do this, but I just keep a hairband around it to make sure the propellers don't go anywhere. But yeah, it's a really good drone. It's got a 1/1/3 inch sensor, so it's a fairly big size sensor. The image quality that comes out of it, I'm always pleasantly surprised at how good it can be with such a small sensor. But yeah, this is a really, really nice balance. The main downsides to it, which I would love to see improved on the next iteration, are the fact that it doesn't really have any weather sealing. So if it starts to rain or snow, I don't really trust that this isn't going to just drop out of the sky, really. So that's a little bit of a downside. And its stability in wind is also not the greatest. So again, that would be lovely to see them improve that with a future iteration. But I don't believe they have with the DJI Mini 4 Pro. So maybe with the 5, they'll do that. I got some filters for the drone as well. So these are made by... Who are they made by? K&F Concept. So yeah, these are K&F Concept drone filters. They are specifically for the Mini 3 Pro, and I think I've got a ND8, ND16 and a polarizer. So for me that works most of the time. Really and truly only on really bright sunny days or shooting directly into the sun, I might come a cropper with the fact that I don't have like an ND32 or 64, but yeah, for the most part this is fine, to be honest. Then going into the top portion of the bag, this is my camera toolkit. So again, I think I've said this quite a few times in my videos, but I'll probably make a full review of everything that's in here. Hopefully everything doesn't come falling out, but things like multi-tools, wires, cleaning stuff, extra SD cards, things like that, just like the useful everyday things really. So yeah, stay tuned to the channel for that review, or pop a comment down below if you're interested in seeing exactly what I keep in there, because there are a few cool extra bits in there as well. Drone batteries. So I purchased this drone with the Fly More combo that gives you the 2 extra batteries and this charging case, and this is a really cool thing to have in your bag actually. So even once your drone batteries have died, so maybe you have to come home and you've got like 10 to 20% left in them, it's really helpful when you're out on a long hike, especially like a multi-day hike. You know that you can use that power in these spent batteries to charge your other devices. So I can use that 10-20% to charge up my phone, for example, with this. So I can use this as a power bank essentially. So I do usually use an external power bank as well, but yeah, this is just nice to know that I've got that other little backup in there. Camera cloths, I've got a few of these in my bag, so yeah, these are just really useful for wiping off like dust or moisture on the front of the lens. So in this little bag I keep my audio recording equipment. Usually I have got my shotgun mic, which is a very basic one, but it still delivers really good audio quality. It's the one that you're listening to right now. It's the Rode Video Micro. Again, this is one that I've had pretty much since I began photography, so it's lasted so well. So if you're in the market for your first microphone, this should probably be it, because it's lasted me this well. It'll probably last you that well as well. What else do we have in here? We have got the Comica Vimo C3, I think this is called. So this is my wireless audio setup. So basically it's a charging case, it's USB-C rechargeable as well. And what you've got the bigger one in the middle, that basically plugs into the camera and is the receiver. And then you've got the 2 smaller ones. They go on your lapel or somewhere on your clothing and they record the audio. So yeah, that's a nice little setup. It probably isn't the best audio quality as like the DJI ones, which is kind of the industry standard with these wireless rechargeable mics nowadays. But yeah, it's still pretty good and much more cost effective, and I think the range is a lot better on these than the DJI ones. So that's a really good feature to point out, is the fact that, you know, the whole point of these being wireless is that you can go pretty far away and still be recorded, and these should do a better job than the DJI ones do. Drone controller. So this is the DJI what is this called? The DJI RC. So this basically, if I just turn it on quickly, this is the controller and the screen all built into one, which I was a bit skeptical of at first, because the fact is this weighs quite a bit more than the older controller and then plugging in your phone, which of course you always have in your pocket anyway. So yeah, I was a bit skeptical of that, but the fact is the screen is so much nicer to use on this than it is to use your phone, and the controls are just much nicer to use a dedicated controller like this. This piece of kit I absolutely love. This is the DJI Action 4. Yeah, so they've released a 5 Pro now, and don't really know what the updated features with that, but it wasn't anything super exciting, so I've stuck with the 4. And what it's got on it, it has got this camera cage, so that gives it a bit of protection, and it also means that it makes it a little bit more functional. So I can put any audio devices in the hot shoe up here and things like that. So really, without that, it's very nice and small. I've got some wind protectors on there as well, which just help with muffling a little bit of the wind noise. And yeah, this is a lovely little thing to have. So it's a fantastic third camera if ever I need one, and a backup camera as well. And the image quality with this is so good considering how small and lightweight it is. So if I'm ever doing long distance hikes, then I will just take my Sony a6700 and this probably. So these are going to be my kind of go-to lightweight system. So yeah, the image quality coming out of this is really, really good for the size and weight and price. So my other camera that I probably should have mentioned sooner is the Sony a6400. Again, I'll leave a little thing up here for you to check it out if you want to. I just made a video a few videos ago detailing my experiences with this camera, but it's the one that's recording right now, and on that camera I have got the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which again is a beautiful lens. As you can see, it's pretty perfect for these kind of shots here. So I feel like it's got a really, really good balance between that kind of lovely blurry background in the background there, and obviously the size and weight and price and everything like that. So yeah, it's a fantastic lens to look into. In this bag, I just keep a few kind of miscellaneous bits and pieces really. So it's just a drawstring bag, which is also pretty useful if you ever need to just go to the supermarket and you need a bag. Then I know I've got this one in my camera bag at all times. Got the lens hoods for lenses that don't have their hoods on currently. A little torch, so that's a wind-up torch. I know that even if my head torch dies, I've always got this in here. It's not waterproof or anything like that, but it is rechargeable, so it just winds up, and I know if worse comes to worse, I've always got a bit of light in there. Right, so in here I have got a little set of extra warm clothes, basically. A bit of thread there, but yeah, this is a merino hat, which is absolutely lovely and small and lightweight, and it doesn't weigh anything. And I know if ever I'm in a condition where maybe the sun's setting, it's getting colder and colder, I know I can put this on and it's going to warm up my ears and around my head and everything. I've also got some thin lightweight gloves in there and a buff, which again, yeah, if it starts getting colder and colder, I know I've always got them in there. And really and truly, they stay in there pretty much all year round, even in the summer months. Unless I'm really trying to go as lightweight as possible, I'll probably keep those in there just in case I need them for whatever reason. Then I've got this. This is a ditty bag. So it's quite a mess at the moment, but I'll quickly run through everything. This is going to be a mixture of sort of first aid items and snacks, basically. So ketchup, always keep ketchup in there. A little cake. What have we got there? These are some alcohol wipes, so if I've got a wound I can clean it up. I've got this, which I think is a really good thing and more people should keep in there. This is a foil blanket, so I know I've always got this in there. If it again starts to get really cold, I know this is going to insulate me from the cold ground in case I have a fall. I know I can lie on this and I'm not going to freeze to death, hopefully. Some soap, so this is biodegradable soap, which I keep in there all the time in case I need to again wash out a wound or clean my hands or anything like that. Some sweeties, like a trail mix cracker, a dog poo bag, you never know what that will come in useful for. Another lens hood, let me put that there. I am trying to rush through this video now, by the way. Some earplugs with a needle and thread put into them. That's a nice, simple but easy and maybe quite useful thing to do repairs. And then obviously the earplugs might come in handy if you're doing wild camping or anything like that. But I did make a video, it was quite a while back now, but I'll pop that up here if you're interested. But it's all DIY hiking gear. So this gear, you know, hiking gear is pretty expensive on the whole, isn't it? But all of this stuff should cost you either nothing because it's free to make and you just do it yourself, or you might have to pay a little bit for the upfront cost and then you can pretty much DIY jerry rig it yourself, basically. So yeah, I'll pop it up here if you're interested. More of those trail mix crackers. Bloody hell, I've got a lot in there. These are really useful. So this bag here and this bag here, if you ever go on a plane and you need to separate your liquids out, I know I've already got these bags in here and these are the exact size that they need to be to go on the plane. So yeah, I know I can pre-do that and I can get on the plane with ease rather than doing it in a rush at the kind of bag check thing. You know, I can pre-do that and I know it's not an issue. A blue inhaler. I am asthmatic. It doesn't really affect me that much these days, but it's nice to know I've got that in there just in case I do have an asthma attack. Some paracetamol, plasters, some more hand sanitizing wipes, a Sharpie with some Leuko tape around it. If you don't know about Leuko tape, this is fantastic stuff to keep in your bag if you do any hiking and you suffer with blisters. This is a really, really good thing to have in there, and I just keep a small section of it wrapped around this Sharpie, and then anytime I get a blister on my foot or anywhere really, but I'll pop that on, and it acts as a second skin basically, so that's going to keep me nice and protected from getting blisters, or if I do get a blister, that's going to help with the recovery as well. Some chewing gum, pretty handy to have in there, just in case you need to talk to someone when you're out on trail and you've been hiking for a couple of days. You probably don't smell the greatest, but you don't realise that. So it's useful to know that you've got something like that you can quickly freshen up if you need to. And then my pen knife. So this is the Victorinox Manager. So I did make a video a couple of videos ago about my top 10 hiking gear, and all of that stuff is under £100. So it's a really detailed video in terms of all of these different things that I keep in there, and it's actually quite a successful video. It's done really well for the channel. So yeah, if you're interested in finding more about all of these really cool hiking gadgets, then this was one of them. The best thing about it is that it's got a pen, so got all the usual knife and not pliers but scissors and screwdrivers, but it's also got that pen, which is super handy to know that you've got a backup pen in there. You know what? I think that's everything. So yeah, I'm very sorry if that's taken a long time, but yeah, there was quite a bit to get through there. I was expecting there'd probably be a bit of a longer video, so thank you very much if you stuck with me all the way through. I hope you found some really useful things in there. I know for me personally, I love watching these kind of videos and seeing the kind of tricks and tips that people have done with their camera bags and the kind of things that they like to keep in there, and it's useful to know what photographers and videographers use in their camera bags and the things that maybe they leave at home because they're not so useful. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell if you want to stay up to date on everything that's happening with the channel. Thank you guys, take care, bye.